actors.
Now, how does that happen when you have mutual friends and you have, like, I mean, aren't there, like, Hollywood parties and there are things and...
They were all very respectful of the fact that the breach had scarred us. We were both scarred by the breach. So that when Frank felt it was time that we saw one another, knowing full well we never stopped loving one another. And it was, I guess it was one of the greatest two-man love stories since Damon and Pythias. When he brought Dean on that stage, and I saw him, the thing that flashed in my mind first was, I can't believe it. Two, that's the most courageous thing I've ever seen in my life. Because he was coming on my turf. He didn't know how I was going to react. But he came because I think in his heart he knew I loved him, I would not hurt him. And when we embraced, we said it all in that embrace.
These are just a few of the many faces of Jerry Lewis. Faces familiar to millions of movie fans all over the world. And this, too, is Jerry Lewis. Very serious and quite different from the madcap characters he has portrayed on the screen. Jerry is filming his new picture for Columbia, Three on a Couch. He not only directs and stars in this sophisticated comedy, but is also the producer.
Possibly the most ironic aspect of Jerry's success during the last quarter century is that outside of the U.S., he's recognized as both a superstar entertainer and one of the great filmmakers of all time.
Well, the foreign audience liked Martin and Lewis, but that's all. They liked them. They were okay. The foreign adulation and regard that they had for Jerry Lewis didn't happen until Jerry Lewis became writer-director. They're very into cinema and to what it takes to put it up there on the screen.
In the 80s, America saw a different side of Jerry, the dramatic actor. His work in The King of Comedy and on TV's Wise Guy earned him critical acclaim. But other than the annual telethon, Jerry's profile at home hasn't been high. Nonetheless, he's still a major influence on today's generation of comic stars.
The night at Comedy Relief that you talked about before was the kind of a... I told you it was one of the three most magnificent moments in my career, that all of those brilliant people...
And I said that it didn't surprise me. What happened was that Jerry walked out, and there were all millions. I mean, that first year was the best comedy.
Yeah,
as far as the people who were there, because it represented the whole spectrum of comedy for 50 years, whatever the eldest person there was. But you were the only person who got a standing ovation. And what I was saying to you, which is true, is that I think that it's because what you were doing from Dean on was this very original stuff. And I think that whenever you're an original in comedy, you have this great influence on the next generation.
I think, he's one of the forefathers of modern physical comedy. So, so I feel like some of the things that I do today in what I do are inherent of maybe some things that I had seen years ago.
Jerry Lewis really is, I mean, he has to be missed because we haven't seen enough of him in some 30 years now. Because he did everything. He was verbal, he was extremely musical, he was extremely athletic, he had perfect timing, and he was completely over-the-top clown. I mean, very facial and physical, and who else has been like that? I mean, you could say, well, Red Skelton was a clown, but Red Skelton only did 1/3 of those things, and you could bring in a number of people, and they say, well, he was more intellectual, well, he was... But Jerry Lewis really had it all.
That's this comedy legend, the whole wide world. Oh, no, it's not that sincere. Don't get me wrong.
some blues and